We are live.
We're live. How good is that?
Mate, thank you for jumping on the podcast.
My absolute pleasure. Always happy to be here.
Appreciate it. Now, I was thinking how to describe you to the people watching and listening, but I don't think I can describe it in words, so I just have to show them. So I got to show them. I got to show people what Slendy is all about.
I apologize to everyone in advance on what you're about to witness.
Now, the first time I saw you, this is how I found you out. This video right here.
This is a classic.
At Hungry Jack's, mate.
How good is it though? This is exactly where you want a set to be played. Just chilling, having a burger.
Hardcore meetup.
And then the hardcore meetup out of nowhere. Is a glorious feeling. Good times with the boys.
Mate. And yeah, this is pretty much the whole video. It's just you guys going hard, having a mad hack at Hungry Jack's with Dr. Peacock out of all people.
Yeah, it was really spontaneous kind of video where I got hit up back in the day from the lads from the Sydney Hardcore Network, and they said, "Oh, I didn't actually realize you enjoyed Frenchcore because the video I made before that Dr. Peacock rave video was just me dancing to Frenchcore in the streets." And the Sydney Hardcore Network guys said, "How would you like to actually make a video with Dr. Peacock?" And I said, "That would be amazing." So we kind of teed it up as a last minute thing. And yeah, the rest is history.
The Sydney Hardcore Network?
Yeah.
Shout out to the Sydney Hardcore Network for making that happen.
I'm sure
that's one of the greatest videos on YouTube out there at the moment.
They made it happen, yeah. And that's why people always say Dr. Peacock doesn't fly anymore to Australia. That is living proof that he was once here. And he played a very small party. I think it was out in Chatswood or something like that.
Oh, so it was like a little, very intimate sort of thing.
It was, which is great because how often will you get to see an artist that is as big as Dr. Peacock now?
Especially now,
right? In such a small environment. So yeah, it was a cool night.
That's awesome. Man, Dr. Peacock's a legend. I love, like, ever since him and Sefa became more mainstream in the Netherlands and also here in Australia, they're both huge. I've just been listening to Frenchcore, like 200 BPM. It's so intense.
Life starts at 200 beats per minute, don't you think, though?
Man, it sure does.
Yeah.
Especially in my life. Like, I love to get up to that level, you know what I mean? Hardcore for me, and even Frenchcore, that's where I am most alive. During like that kind of music, when we're at raves or at Massive or whatever, once the hardcore goes on, throw the rule book out the window. Like, anything can happen.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, you know, personally, you've seen me in the thick of it. When the music gets fast, I just throw down. And that's basically me in regular life as well, I guess. I'm very kind of, twitchy and antsy and just like to be moving fast. So.
No, that's awesome, man. I got to say, like, you have the best hack I have ever seen.
That is just incorrect, but I appreciate the kind words.
There's someone better than you?
Absolutely. There's heaps of people better than me. I really enjoy watching Dutchies have a proper hack or gabber. I feel like they put their heart and soul into it. My style is definitely born out of just my own, like I said, twitchiness and kind of just weirdness on the dance floor. I never watched any videos back in the day. I never practiced, which is actually something that people go, "How did you get so good?" I'm just like, this is not something that I sit in my garage or in front of the mirror practicing. This is just over time at events kind of developed my own style. So it's a bit of a hybrid of a lot of styles, and definitely is not true to like an old school gab. So I feel like I appreciate the kindness, but there's definitely people better than me.
Oh yeah, the Dutchies, that's where it originated from, right? The Netherlands.
Yeah, absolutely.
When did the scene first come out? Was it like the early 90s?
Like early 90s, I'm thinking Thunderdome style era.
Oh yeah, Thunderdome for sure.
Thunderdome being one of the earliest kind of big parties that played this style of music and had such a dedicated fan base, such a dedicated crowd. I'm actually excited to see the Thunderdome movie that's coming out very shortly.
Oh, there's a movie coming out?
There is a movie coming out. And I really hope that it somehow gets to Australian shores, whether that's Netflix or, I don't know, some weird pirate stream that I can watch it on, because I'm genuinely interested. Yeah.
No, that's awesome, man. Yeah, like I've been to the Netherlands a few times now, and I know you have as well.
Just the one time for me, but...
Just the one time when you went to DEFQON?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I remember when you put that video out when you did the recap of the whole DEFQON weekend, and you could, at the start of the video, when you were like, oh, you could hear the excitement in your voice.
I was genuinely outrageously excited. I'd waited so long to go to the Netherlands to experience DEFQON.1 and see everything that what I believe is one of the world's greatest festivals has to offer. And it absolutely did not disappoint. I had the best time. And what really kind of set it apart for me personally was all of those little experiences that kind of elevate it to a genuine festival experience where you would do things that you don't otherwise get to do at a normal party. So for me, that was things like the hardcore breakfast, dancing on stage with the Gearbox crew, partying with tone shifters and detweakers. That was insane. Like, it was stuff that you just do not get to do on your regular kind of festival run of the mill.
Man, that's insane. And for people who don't know, who are hearing DEFQON for the first time, which might not be a lot of people, but you can't compare DEFQON in Australia to DEFQON in the Netherlands. It's completely different beast altogether. Number one, it's 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Number two, you got the Dutch people who are just so like festive and lively, and they just take the thing to the whole another level. And the production, I mean, what is there, like 10 stages at in the Netherlands or something like that?
There's a lot of stages.
So many stages.
Yeah, I'm not sure if there's quite 10, but they've always got little secret stages, secret locations,
little Easter eggs.
Yeah, little Easter eggs, which is what I loved about the festival as well. All
Yeah.
those kind of things that you would discover only when you're there. You wouldn't even know that they existed. So
Where can someone find you in the Netherlands? Which stage would they find you at?
I go all over, honestly.
Yeah.
I had a great time bouncing around all of the stages. Some of my favorite highlights from last year, sadly I didn't get to go this year, but I really loved Sefa did a silent disco set.
I saw that
on the Friday. So
Yep.
that was a sort of a mini stage that wasn't even a real stage, which was great fun. Mist had his kind of big debut set on the blue stage, and that was awesome. That was genuinely one of the best sets of the weekend. I really enjoyed the red stage. The vibes at Red were fantastic. The stage itself that year I thought was really cool. So seeing a couple of my favorite acts like the Sound Rush Boys up there performing, and then Kiwk in concert as well.
That's
on
right.
that main stage.
Yep.
It really did have like such a massive energy. And of course Power Hour on that stage is insane, right?
Yeah, man, Power Hour was insane. Like when I went out for the first time I went to DEFQON in the Netherlands was in 2017, and we actually missed Power Hour. Like we went a little bit too hard the day before, and we didn't make it in time.
You can't do that, mate.
And I saw the video come out like a few months after, and I'm just like, Jesus, what the fuck did I miss?
Yeah, disappointing.
That was the worst thing ever. Oh man, but a little bit about yourself, man. Like, so, well, when I wrote this, it says 87,500 subscribers, but I checked today and you got you do have 88,000 subscribers on YouTube now.
Yes, I do.
That's amazing. Congratulations on that, man.
Thank you.
With over 175 videos, and I think by far the best video was your DEFQON 2018 Hakk video with 1.6 million views on that.
Yeah, that's correct. That was a video that just kind of took off. So yeah, the channel is kind of an odd beast. It's I'll see videos occasionally kind of sit at a certain view level for a period of time and then spike during either seasonal parts of the year, for like festival season, for example, and then sometimes just weirdly spike at points during the year, and that's what that Hakk compilation video did in the end. It started tracking really well, and it got recommended next to a couple of really popular videos, including the hardcore raver Cries during his dance battle that
I
he
saw
lost.
that for the first time yesterday. Yeah.
So like that video is such a good video as well. I love
That's
that
got
video.
like 10 million views, doesn't it? Something like that.
I don't know if it has that many, but that's why like I think my video started popping up next to it.
Yeah.
So obviously people who had watched one then kind of came across and watched the other.
They go down the rabbit hole,
Yeah, exactly. And they come down the rabbit hole of the Slendy show and they see how weird and hopefully wonderful it is. Yeah.
Man, I love your videos, but I particularly like the way you edit your videos. With the like the little small captions, like what's Fuckenstein, by the way? Fuckenstein, yeah.
Well, it's a mythical place that exists in all of our hearts. And we go there when we want to be reminded of what Stereosonic was like.
That's right.
Once upon a time. So, but yeah, you can't go wrong with Comic Sans text, I don't think.
Yeah, that's right. The Comic Sans as well. And I think it was the Street Fighter or the Tekken references where you had the battle off with you and the other dude and you got the health bar and every time you bust a mad move, the health bar goes down and stuff.
Yep, that took me quite a long time to do, but I think it was worth it in the end. Yeah.
And then the subtle like little pop-up sounds like Sonic the Hedgehog and collecting the rings and stuff like that. It's pure genius. I love it. It's so cool.
That's just kind of what it's like to have a walk around inside my head. That's all the weird shit that's going on all the time is just Sonic noises and nonsensical sounds and weird memes that pop up all over the place. And sometimes I even just find myself editing videos and I go, literally no one will find this funny. This is just me editing something stupid in there so that I can laugh at it later on. And then it's always funny seeing in the comments and kind of anecdotally later on, people go, oh, I love the Sonic the Hedgehog that zooms by in the background. And
You'll always
like
have people that pick that up and they're like, wow, that was actually pretty clever.
Yeah, well, I do try. I try to make bad memes. So if you enjoy those, you're in for a treat.
Yeah, man, it was so good. I guess, how did you first start doing these videos? Like, around what time? When was it?
So this is a true story, actually. Basically, the channel came about as a way for me to complete a university assignment. So this was back in kind of my second year uni. I had to complete a subject it was a journalism subject that was part of my media and comms and law degree. And I had to create a news story that was relevant to Sydney University, where I attended. And I had an interview set up that fell through the day before the assignment. So I went, oh no, what do I actually do? So I had to basically create my own news story by dressing up as Slender Man, where the name of the channel comes from, to conceal my identity. And I ran into my own lectures with a boombox and just had a rave. And then I wrote story on Masked Man has rave at university. And that was literally my news story.
Whoa.
So, and yeah, it just kind of spiraled from there. The channel after a week had 0 subscribers, but randomly 3,000 views for the kind of 3 really crappy videos that I put up that were filmed on an iPad in portrait mode. So it was genuinely terrible, but I had so much fun doing it. And I saw that for some inexplicable reason, people were actually watching. So I thought, let's keep this going. Here we are, many years later.
Wow. I mean, why wouldn't they watch you? You got a guy dressed as Slender Man with a boombox busting out a mad hack.
Well, it was quite a niche concept at the time. I feel like it's still a very niche concept.
What year are we talking about? Like, how long ago was this?
Well, that would have been 5-6 years ago now.
6 years ago. So around 2014, 15, around then.
Maybe 2013, I think it was. The first video kind of went up on the channel.
Because Hardstyle wasn't really that popular back then. It only really started blowing up in the last few years, I think, when DEFQON, started selling out and stuff like that. Back then, it was still very, very kind of niche. Trance was a little bit more king at the time, I remember.
Depends where you're from. If you're talking about the Sydney and Australian scene, I think that Hardstyle back then was in a really good spot, actually. That sort of 2011 to 2013, 14 era, there were some genuinely fantastic tunes that started to come out, and we started to see a bit of a shift in the scene as both festivals, producers, and even punters who attend started to want different kind of experiences, or even opening up the Hardstyle experience to more people. And I don't think that that's kind of what has led to more popularity. But if you think about the way that people discover music, nowadays it's mostly online, and sort of you and our generations were growing up in the LimeWire days, and that was kind of just dipping our toe in discovering this music. Whereas now I think of sort of 18, 19-year-olds who are just starting to attend these music festivals. They've grown up for the last 10 years with Hardstyle in the spotlight and having things like Q-Dance after movies and end shows at their disposal from the time they were 13. They've been hyping themselves up to come to these festivals for like 6 years. So that's why I think that we see a bit of an increase in popularity, a bit of an increase in numbers in general from that sort of behavioral aspect, and also from a promoting side where there has been more of a driven effort. It feels like from a festival goer, where promoters have at least tried to bring big names more consistently into the country so that people are exposed to the music more often.
Oh yeah, shout out to HSU. They're doing a great job.
I think Massive as well. Like even
and Massive for sure.
I remember personally, even when I was in sort of my first, second year uni, Massive would have big internationals come out, every couple months. And that was great. We were spoiled back then. But now if you think about, they have a massive international coming out almost every week, which is proper insanity for a club in Australia to be doing that.
All the time. And I'm so grateful that we have Massive here in Sydney.
It makes a big difference, right? It's an easy touch point for someone to experience the hardstyle scene without having to dive into a $170 festival ticket, for example.
For sure. You can just go to Massive on Saturday night. Shark Hotel, shout out to MCD, Sway, Pete. You guys make it happen, man. And even after all the backlash as well, we're still here.
They do an awesome job. Genuine shout out to you guys.
Yeah, shout out to you guys. You're awesome. Did you ever think you'd be as big as you are today?
I maintain that I'm still not big at all. Think about like proper people with internet followings, for lack of a better word. 80,000 is a drop in the ocean. People make a living off this kind of stuff. I do not. That's why we're having this conversation in the office where I work my full-time job. So that is, it's very humbling to think that anyone takes the time to watch the silly videos that I put out, and I genuinely mean that. I'm so thankful for everyone who takes that time, but I absolutely do not feel like this is a success. This is big in any way. It is still very much like a passion project and something that I enjoy doing. Of course, yeah. To meet people in the scene, and that's like my biggest takeaway from it at the moment.
Yeah. And I guess like you're very well known in the scene as well, and you always get people coming up to you and, hey Slendy, what's up, man? Let's have a hack, this, that.
It is really nice to know that someone wants to come up and say, hey, grab a photo or have a hack or whatever it is. Like I said, it's really nice to actually meet people who I never otherwise would have met ever. It's that simple, really, because often you get stuck in your little bubble sometimes, and the rave scene's a good way to branch out and meet people that you otherwise would never have met, I think.
100%, and very friendly people, might I add, as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Every person that I've met at raves, festivals, they're just nice people. People, you want to have a conversation with. They got things they can tell you, interesting things about their lives and stuff like that. I mean, you can meet anyone at these places.
It's so true. I still think it is one of the better melting pot style scenes that are out there. I will never forget going to my first DEFQON alone back in 2012, and I was just genuinely alone because I just
went by yourself.
We went by myself, right? So I was a teenager, and my mum was terrified. She was like, "Why would you go to this festival with all these scary people? Please don't have something bad happen to you," basically. And after that, the whole stigma of the scariness around our scene just kind of melted away. I've genuinely had some of the best conversations and friendliest conversations with massive tatted up guys who they might look scary from a distance, but they're just the loveliest blokes out. And it's always very very nice to know that within our scene there's a good dose of people who are just willing to have a chat, meet new people, put themselves out there.
Yeah, man, it's really good. And there is a stigma with the hardstyle scene, unfortunately. It is what it is, but we know, being regulars, it's not like that. It's just a bunch of great people coming together for the love of the music.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that one thing that I see in our scene more than others is that genuine dedication to the music. Sometimes you don't get that with different styles and a more casual festival going scene, depending on the music type.
Yep.
I think that when it comes to hardstyle, hardcore, etc., people who come to a particular event, they are absolutely on board with that style of music more often than not. I think that there's always going to be your people who perhaps don't know every single artist or every single song lyric and stuff like that, but that's all right because perhaps they're just trying to get into the scene.
That's part of the discovery process.
Exactly right.
You might walk into a room and then there's a song that just resonates with you and like, far out, who is this person?
Yeah, exactly. So it's important to recognize that that's a thing. And yeah, it's good to know that essentially we have this place that we can we can go on a regular basis to detach from all the other pressures that come with being alive, I guess.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, like I view, especially DEFQON once every year as Christmas with a Q.
With a Q.
With
yeah,
a Q.
of course.
Christmas with a Q. And me and my raver buddies, we have a little group of, we call each other the Hardstyle Hectics. Shout out to the Hardstyle Hectics. We're actually going to...
That's cute. That's adorable.
Yeah. We're actually going to Melbourne in December for Knockout Outdoor.
I will be there as well.
Amazing.
Yep.
We'll have a hack. We'll have a cheeky hack.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, I'm really looking forward to that because the lineup looks absolutely juicy.
Can't go wrong. Outdoor festivals in general are my favorite. So
for sure. This is going to make up for not having a DEFQON this year.
I hope so. I really have high hopes for it. And yeah, I'm sure HSU won't disappoint.
HSU never disappoints. Love those guys.
Yeah, well, I hope that the community and the scene also doesn't disappoint, if you catch my drift. I think that the onus is still on us in quite what is still a hostile environment, I guess, in terms of legislation and all the restrictions that are placed upon us, that we've still got to make sure that we look after one another as our top priority. For
sure. And that was another thing that I wanted to talk to you about as well, is the current situation of the scene. And yeah, DEFQON.1 was taken away from us.
It was,
unfortunately.
Indeed. Yeah.
After 10 beautiful years of going hard, the Liberal government just decided that they're not going to have it anymore. Yes, there were people who died. I can't remember how many people altogether, but I think it was like 4 or 5 people that died at the festival. Some of them relating to drugs, some of them relating to just unsafe conditions. I think someone got trampled to death. I'm not exactly sure. Don't quote me on that. But in saying that, like, drug consumption at festivals and Australian culture in general, it's a thing. And it's an issue that we're trying to tackle right now as a society, as the whole scene in general. What do you think? Like, where is this going to lead to?
So I can't say with any certainty I know where this is going to lead to. Obviously, there's lots of back and forth between the government at the moment and essentially bodies of regulation within the music festival scene, where the initial licensing laws in New South Wales were put into effect earlier this year. They were scrapped, but now the Premier wants to bring them back. So I feel like this conversation isn't going away for a long time. And it's something that we just can't ignore as a scene, because the fundamental thing is, like, we probably have to change our cultural attitudes. And I've pretty strong views on this. I think that, so I've never ever taken anything illicit or done anything to do with illicit drugs, contrary to popular opinion, I guess.
Many people would not think that.
I know,
at
right?
first, right? But it's good that you cleared the air. Yeah, we got it on tape.
At every event, I'm completely sober. I barely even drink. Because I don't know, I'm just weird. I've said I just love the fast music for some reason.
Yeah, the music is all you need. Honestly,
I know, right?
It's all you need.
It's all I need. But so back to my original point, I think that there's still very much a culture of going hard in Australia.
For sure.
More than there is in other parts of the world. So being a teenager, growing up, guys and girls, there are those kind of rites of passage, the first night out with the boys, the first drunken story experience, all that kind of stuff. And Australians pride themselves on going outrageously hard, whether that's alcohol or drugs or partying in general.
Or pingers.
Yeah, that's right. So those attitudes essentially, well, I personally believe, in my opinion, they get entrenched from a very sort of impressionable age, around those mid to late teens, and people carry those behaviors through into their early 20s, into festival culture, where they now have full control over the nights out that they have, and they want to essentially have or replicate those same going hard experiences with their groups of friends. Otherwise, the stigma is sometimes that you haven't actually had a good time at all if you're not sort of paralytic at the end of the night, or you can't remember the night at all. And I just think that is actually the core underlying problem that both regulatory bodies, the government, and also us as a scene have to address, because at the end of the day, it's about loss of life, and it's about changing those attitudes so that loss of life no longer occurs. So, because you can put all the laws you want into place, you can create as many different sort of barriers to stop people from doing what they're doing. But if you don't get to the root of the problem, then that problem's still going to occur. So that's just, I guess, my personal view on it. I think that we need to start having different conversations with particularly teenagers about what it means to, have like a healthy social and party life. And that doesn't mean, excluding all of these behaviors from that. I think that we just have to perhaps look at other areas of the world where we've mentioned the Netherlands before, and they have a very different approach to partying, very
different, yeah,
in general. So their kind of additional substances or alcohol or whatever it is that you want to call it, they tend to be, at least in what I've seen in my experience, more of an aid to the night out in having fun. They're not a competition be all and end all style implement that they use on a night out. So yeah, I guess those are kind of a couple of my reflections on the subject.
Yeah, and I really do think the government can do a better job in just, their current strategy right now is to say that drugs are bad, don't do drugs. You can't say that and expect people to follow. People will always do drugs. Humans have been using drugs since, the beginning of humankind. We've been eating mushrooms. We've been, getting high off whatever it is. There's so much evidence that goes back into human society, and people have always, tried to alter their state of consciousness, and to expect people not to. I mean, alcohol is legal, so it's a very, very touchy subject, and I think the government can do a better job in making these festivals much safer. There was I forgot what it was, but there was a report that came out. Some person did a report saying how pill testing can be implemented.
The coroner's report.
The coroner's report, yes. And Gladys didn't want to have any of it. She completely disregarded it. She's like, no, we don't want to send a message that taking drugs is an acceptable form of behavior. But I think she's going the wrong way with it. It's not saying that, look, we're accepting this. It's more of a harm reduction sort of thing. Just because you never know, like if you're 18 years old, you go to your first festival, whatever, and you have a few mates that are older than you, and they've all been they've done their fair share of drug use at festivals and stuff like that, and then it comes time for your turn, and it's you don't know what you're taking at the end of the day. It could be fucking rat poison for and I really do think that the pill testing will do more safety than harm.
Yeah, look, it's a really tough one. I think that it's multifaceted, and there's more things at play than just pill testing.
Oh yeah, the education also is a big part of that as well. It all starts with the education.
But it's not just that, right? So the government, being the government, has multiple things that are at play that we as the public are sometimes not always privy to, or that we might not have full transparency over. So there's different stakeholders here, rather than just one person kind of just slamming down and saying no, I think. And it even goes back to, you just mentioned, you know, in conversation then, where it's a rite of passage. You've seen people take drugs before you. You want to know what's in them. You want to be safe, all that kind of stuff. But to me, that still just speaks to that overarching point of, why is this a rite of passage? So I think that clearly I'm a little bit biased in this fact, obviously never having done any of this kind of stuff myself. I do struggle to understand why some people do it from a personal standpoint. Over the years, I've become more understanding, and I believe that what people do of their own volition is totally up to them, and that's very much a part of growing up, and just a part of life in general. So the right to, you know, make your own choices is extremely important. So, but I guess in the terms and the lens of this conversation, it is hard for me to remove myself from my personal biases in this respect, where I very much like to be in control in a situation, and not leave things up to essentially having a mind-altering experience.
Yeah, and it's just playing Russian roulette with your life. If you're swallowing a pill, you don't know what it'll do to you.
It can be. It's really tough to moralize on it. It's really tough to say that people should act in a certain way, because there really is no answer. Which is why I actually think that might be harm minimization's strongest argument, that perhaps they don't make salient enough. It's that, look, we're not sure what the kind of core solution is for this at the moment. There is no silver bullet. There is no magic fix to this. So in the meantime, does it not make sense to mitigate harm? And that can come in multiple different forms. Like we've said, it's legislation, education, general consensus between members of the community, which actually I think is extremely powerful. So we've seen things in the past, and this is probably a bad example because I can't actually think of an example to substantiate my argument at the moment. But if you think about in general terms, if your group of friends and family believe certain things, it's often easier for you to align with their beliefs than it is to contravene them. So
for sure.
So if it becomes more acceptable that people can go out and be completely sober, for example, which I actually believe that is becoming the case. I come across more and more sober ravers all the time.
Yeah, there's a lot of them out there. Shout out to the sober ravers.
Yeah.
You're the real MVP.
And that stigma is slowly going away, that you're either boring if you are sober or you're not worthwhile in a party environment. So I think that's slowly changing. But yeah, like I've previously said, it's a long process.
Yeah, and it really bothers me sometimes when I'm out at these raves and festivals and people come up to me and they ask me, what are you on? Or how many have you done? Like, those are the first questions that they ask me. And then I was just like, man, why? I don't want to hear that. You know what I mean? That's just have, like, look at the music, look at the pretty lasers and stuff like that. There's so much going on.
Look at the pretty colors.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You're asking me how much drugs I've done. Like, come on, please, guys.
Yeah. Guys. Look, I get that sometimes too. But I understand, because like we've mentioned already, it's just normalized, right? Everyone expects you to be on drugs at these type of events.
Especially like hardstyle events, for sure.
Yeah, that's right. Well, it's... Yeah, because I guess there's still some kind of consensus that this is pounding bass music. You need some kind of help in order to listen to these construction site noises.
Yeah, you need to be off your head to enjoy the music.
Yeah, that's right. But like at the end of the day, it's weird. Music it's almost a chemical reaction in your brain, right? You know, it releases dopamine when you listen to certain songs, and that is genuinely something that you have very little control over.
Yeah, so you could say music is actually a drug.
It kind of is. It's funny how if you know sort of about how people develop their taste in music over the years, apparently, anecdotally, once again, based on what I've read, it formulates itself in your early teens or tweens. So the music that you listen to when you're sort of between 10 and 13 starts to shape the style of music that releases the most dopamine in your brain. So for me, that was actually like Bomb Funk MC, Freestyler, those synthesized beats, Pet Shop Boys, old albums from the 80s synthesizers, and obviously Darude Sandstorm. So that kind of shaped my electronic style and affinity towards dance music. But it also, it's funny because it kind of explains why everyone our age, or at least millennials in general, will listen to the window, to the wall, and they'll just
to the window,
Yeah.
to the wall,
right, and they just lose their shit because if you think about it, that was so fresh, hits of summer.
Oh yeah,
We were all 11 years old, and that's just been entrenched into our brains.
yeah, man.
So it's funny how it works.
You know, it's funny you say that because I grew up mostly listening to West Coast gangster rap, like from the late 90s. Like I'm talking about Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, NWA, Tupac, all of them, and I love that. And who puts a lot of those samples in their music?
raw hardstyle artists.
Anger Fist in general, like specifically as well.
Well, yeah, Anger Fist on the hardcore side.
Yeah, man. Wow, he has those
Yeah.
little snippets, those little samples, and then just a dirty beat after that. Like, it releases the dopamine, like
It
you
does,
said.
right?
You know?
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. So, I guess we've covered a few things. Was there anything, any kind of projects that you're planning on, in something in the works, something big that you're planning on in the near future at all?
Well, earlier this year, I released a hardcore track with an 18-year-old producer from Sydney, Decimate. So shout out to Jez if you're watching. Super talented kid, really nice guy. And we're looking to release a couple more tracks, ideally before the end of the year. So that's actually an area that I'm just having a lot of fun with.
Creating music.
Yeah, creating music. So Jeremy, or Decimate, handles most of the sound design and the production. And I get to kind of like write the lyrics and direct sort of where the track's going and things like that, which I really enjoy. So yeah, it's a different outlet for that creativity, and I'd love to pick up more of the music production side as well, so that I can help out anyone who potentially collaborates with me.
Have you ever mixed before?
I have,
Straight
but
on the deck.
not well. So I would need to upskill in that a little bit more.
It's pretty tricky, man.
Yeah, there's definitely an art to it, right? So I would love to learn how to do that a bit better, but all these things, it's time, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah, exactly. That's the one asset that you need. You need time, and you need to just keep doing it and doing it and doing it. And
yeah, exactly.
become good at it, you know? Speaking of Sefa,
Yes.
wow, what a guy.
Just in general.
In general, like the guy's amazing. How old is he now? He's like, I think he's 19.
Be 19 now, I believe.
When he first went up at the yellow stage at DEFQON in 2017, I believe he was 17 years old.
Yep. It's crazy, right?
That's
It's
incredible.
it shows that if there's no such thing as you have to be old enough to be good enough. If you're good enough, you're old enough.
Yeah.
So
and Sefa's just so talented, not just in producing hardstyle. Like he's really good on the piano as well.
well, his Frenchcore productions are often inspired by his classical music background. So he's a classical pianist, and is very well skilled in musicianship and the reading, writing of classical music in general. And this is actually something he's said in interviews before. He doesn't really listen to much Frenchcore or hardcore in general, because he feels that stifles his creativity. So what he does listen to constantly is classical music.
Wow.
And that's where he gets all of his inspo from, to create filthy melodies and kicks. So
100%. And you can definitely tell like those melodies, and his music is beautiful, so good. And I remember when you actually, first of all, how did you actually get in touch with Sefa and get him to come to Hyde Park and do like a live piano set?
Well, we met the year before, or rather it was at the beginning of this year, so it was kind of 6 months prior at DEFQON, where we just kind of bumped into each other, had a good chat, and he said that he'd be coming to Australia later in the year, and I said, yeah, let's link up if possible. If not, then no dramas, because I know that touring schedules are hectic and people are very tired when they fly to Australia, which is so far away. But in the end, his manager contacted me and said, yeah, we're still down to do a meetup or something like that. So I just created a little event on Facebook to gauge interest, and there was some great interest. There was a couple hundred people clicked attending and all that kind of jazz, which on Facebook means nothing. So we were still skeptical. But we managed to find a spot in Hyde Park with a piano that was readily available. And it turned out to be a really good afternoon. There was a huge amount of people that turned up.
I was there.
Yes, I
I
remember.
came after work and I was so excited. And I had so much fun. What a way to end the day. I think it was was it a Monday?
I think it was a Monday.
Yeah, it was a Monday.
It was the Monday after his massive performance, perhaps.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, huge amount of fun. And it's really good to hold those kind of experiences with artists that so often, they feel a little bit removed. We interact with them online sometimes. We see their music come out and we get excited about it. And it was really cool that Sefa was willing to put himself out there and say, hey, I'm willing to come and play a live concert in the park rather, just so people can, meet me and have a bit of a chat. So
that's so cool. Kudos to Sefa for doing that, man.
Yeah, he's a good bloke.
That's how you win people over, by doing those sorts of stuff. And I know Ruler as well. Ruler does the live meetups, and they've actually, on the Hardstyle Music Appreciation Society, they actually communicate with a lot of people there, and they're like, yeah, we're going to be at this place at this time, come meet us.
Yeah,
so cool.
Oh yeah, I really like that about the hardstyle and hardcore scene in general. I think that not just the two artists that we've mentioned, but all the artists are actually quite receptive to meeting up with fans and responding to their comments and messages, which is great. It really fosters that sense of community, and it's, right up to the big names who will play on the main stage, right through to artists that are just breaking out, and everyone has that genuine connection with their audience, which is fantastic.
What's the backstory between you being Sefa's dad?
There's not much really. He's quite young, as we've established, but it's also just, and he has a bit of a baby face, so it's just quite funny to think that after all these years that I could be his father, which clearly I'm not.
I mean, look at that photo. That's a great photo.
That's
right
adorable,
there.
Isn't it? That's just father and son in the flesh, having the best time, living life. My sunglasses are very, very crooked.
And what's that book you got there?
That was Jack and the Beanstalk, or rather Hakk and the Beanstalk.
Hakk and the Beanstalk.
That I read Sefa during that meetup. That was really fun, and I think I also came from a important work meeting, which is why I was all kitted up and not in appropriate Hakk attire. But we made it work. So
we all got a bit sweaty that afternoon.
We did indeed. Yes.
It was fucking great though. And the caption reads, "Man reads story book to his giant son."
1492. It's an accurate photo from back in the archives.
Colorized in brackets.
Exactly, right? We've brought it into the future.
Oh mate, I love your creativity. It's so good.
Like I said, bad memes. I do what I can. So
that's awesome. Any plans to go back to the Netherlands?
Yeah, look, I would love to. But as I've mentioned, I work full time, and as anyone who works full time is aware, you only have a certain amount of time off.
4 weeks, mate.
Per year.
Per year.
Yeah, so it makes it tough, doesn't it? Especially when in Australia, flights to Europe are not cheap. It's not like... that's actually one of the most common comments that I get from people with the best intentions, who say, are you coming to this festival? I'd love to kind of meet you there and all that kind of stuff. And often they'll be from, Germany, Austria, or surrounding countries in Europe. And they expect my flight to be a couple $100.
Nope.
Like their flight would be.
Nope.
And then I get back to them, I say, yeah, man, I would love to come. Do you have a spare like $1,500 at the bare minimum?
And they're like, what?
And that's like me flying basically in a tin can that will fall to pieces, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, and they kind of go, wow, it's a little bit trickier for Australians to engage in a European festival scene on a regular basis, at least. So,
definitely.
Yeah.
What's the craziest thing you've seen overseas? Because I know Europe has some wild spots that, Netherlands, Germany, Austria, that. So, because I know you've been to a few festivals in Germany as well, right?
Yeah. I went to DEFQON.1 in Germany, which that was a very interesting vibe. So it was so strange. There was all sorts of weird things going down. I remember one guy was walking a sack of potatoes around the festival, which was great. Like a pet. I thoroughly enjoyed that. There was, no, this was actually great. There was what can only be described as some weird ostrich bird ritual that was going down at the Psytrance stage at Airbeat 1 that year.
Oh my.
It was an ostrich, a flamingo, and some other big bird, basically these three guys in bird suits, who created, I guess, a sacrificial circle, and they started sacrificing their human friend to the bird gods. It was really funny. It was really good, and definitely fit the whole Psytrance vibe of just being pretty fried in general.
There is no way that you cannot have fun at these places.
I know, right? People are always coming up with the strangest stuff. It's great.
We're actually for our trip to Melbourne, we're looking to bring a mascot.
Okay.
So if you have any ideas, please shoot them my way. Or if anyone else has any ideas, please. We're thinking maybe a giraffe, maybe, I don't know, maybe like a panda or something like that. But we need some kind of mascot to take with us because we're going to be dressing up as well. We're going to make the most of it.
Okay. Sounds like a plan.
And we might even do a sacrifice as well.
Yeah, well, if you do that, I'll have to make sure to get you on camera because I'll be capturing some footage there, no doubt.
Oh, yeah, for sure. We'll definitely meet up and have a hack. Speaking of, do you remember the time I called you out and to have a little hack at, I think it was Knockout Circus?
Look, probably. Did it happen? I don't know.
Well, it's on camera, so let's show the people.
I get a lot of these requests, as you can probably imagine.
There we go. There we go. Going hard as can be.
Oh, wow. I remember that Santa outfit. That was really sweaty.
Boom, boom, boom. Holy shit. You got the moves, man.
Nah, like I said, just moving fast enough that it looks passable.
And then the sweaty hug at the end.
Yeah.
Yes.
Got to have a sweaty hug.
Oh, mate. That was a great time. Yeah, the boys. Nah, that was so fun. I had so much fun that night. That was a great night.
It was a really good night, actually. Yeah.
And you in the... I don't know how you were in that Santa outfit the whole night?
I was, yeah. If you're going to wear a costume... Mess. Absolutely. If you're going to wear a costume, you've got to go full tilt. Yeah.
Oh, that's insane, man. Oh, it's been 46 minutes. Well,
time flies.
Time flies when you're having fun, right?
It does indeed. Yep.
Now, I just want to finish off. I have this little segment called your top three.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, so I'm gonna change it a little bit because you're Slendy, and I gotta direct it towards Slendy.
All right. Yep.
Top three artists.
Artists, it's impossible to.
Gotta have a top three. Man.
I absolutely do not have a top three. My artists, or favorite artists rather, fluctuate depending on genre, mood, my time of, what time of year it is, and what festivals are coming up. So
maybe just pick. It doesn't have to be top three, but maybe just pick three that you're currently at the moment, vibing with.
Cool. Okay, so who am I vibing with at the moment? I'm actually really vibing with old school Tritonal at the moment. So Tritonal were trance producers, became Trouse house producers, and their Trouse house stuff isn't bad, but they're like old school tracks with Christina Soto, for example. Absolute god tier. So I'm listening to a lot of those at the moment.
You got to send me some stuff afterwards.
I can do that. On the hardcore side, I'm enjoying some of Krypton's new releases. Really enjoying his kind of style, and I still love his initial track with Sefa, Nobody Knows. That got me into his style of music, and also Sprinky as well. I love his sound at the moment on the Frenchcore hardcore side of things.
Yep.
And then something a bit different. I'm a big sucker for melodic dubstep, believe it or not.
Okay.
So I'm a huge fan.
The sick wobs.
Absolutely. Genuine sick wobs. I'm a huge fan of Seven Lions. One of the only producers, not only producers, but one of the producers on my bucket list to see since I've never seen Seven Lions.
Cool. Top three festivals you've ever been to?
Top three festivals. I think the top festival I've ever been to still has to be DEFQON Netherlands. It was out of this world, as I've already mentioned.
100%. It's the top of my list as well. If you love hardstyle, hardcore, any of the hardest styles, that is your mecca. that is where you have to go at least once in your life.
Absolutely.
Make the pilgrimage.
Can highly
It will
recommend.
change your life, I guarantee you.
Yeah, I loved it. Where else can you have cornflakes poured on your head at
Speed cornflakes, right?
at 10 in the morning in front of 4 million people live on camera? So
Did you bring some Vegemite over with you?
not to that one. No, I
to that
saved
one,
that for Australian DEFCON Australia.
Yeah, I remember seeing you after you made that video as well.
Yep.
You were not in a good state.
I was in a pretty sorry state. Number 2, I guess, in answer to your question, probably Dominator.
Dominator, yes,
So
for sure.
I loved Dominator for obvious reasons.
It's the biggest hardcore outdoor festival. Isn't
Hardcore outdoor festival on a beach. What more do you want? Number 3, I am going to go Airbeat 1. Germany.
Yeah.
So Airbeat 1 Germany was something a bit different and also a good mixture of festival music as well. So I got my fix of psytrance, I got my fix of trance, dubstep, bit of deep house, bit of everything, which I really like. And it was also highly enjoyable because I was with my good mate Jeremiah, and it was his birthday. So
hey Jero, what's up, Jero? Shout out to you.
So
bro.
he loves Airbeat 1. I think he's making a habit of going back year after year. So it was great to kind of celebrate his birthday in the early hours of the Q dance stage in the morning as well, which was great.
Yeah,
so
it's so crazy because in the Netherlands, the red stage actually closes during the day on the Sunday, I think it is.
I think the red stage is the only one of the few ones that's open on the Sunday.
It
changes every year.
Yeah, it does. I think they change it a lot now. But I think there was one or in the earlier days where they used to, on the Sunday, all the other stages used to run, and the red stage would just open up right at the end for like legends or the closing ceremony or stuff like that. Yeah, it was pretty cool. And then the last top three moments in your life. Doesn't have to be in general. Festival, because I know a lot of my top moments come from festivals because I have so much fun at them. But just top 3 moments in your life that you're genuinely happy that happened to you.
I am totally not prepared for this question. I have no idea. I've not reflected on my top 3 moments of life. Perhaps I should over a existential crisis that I'll no doubt have soon after being asked this question. Look, I honestly couldn't tell you.
Because like you've been around and you've had so many crazy things happen, and you've done so many crazy things as well. I mean, you sent off your Air Maxes. You've had a funeral for them and stuff.
I guess there's a difference though in like those festival moments. I can give you sort of top 3 festival moments perhaps.
Go for it.
Life moments is tricky. I mean, like
of course.
I graduated double degree. That was great. Stuff like that. So, and that was 6 years of turmoil that I was very happy to get off my chest. But I feel like that's a different kind of life moment to giving your Air Maxes a funeral. So slightly different contexts. So I guess in terms of top festival moments, this first one, genuinely true, made me fall in love with the scene. Once again, first DEFCON alone, I managed to get, because I was alone, right up to the front for the very last 2 sets, which were Headhunters and Wildstyles.
Whoa.
Headhunters crowd surfed, and I touched Headhunters as he crowd surfed over me. I touched
Did you touch his butt?
His bald head. I went for the bald head.
Okay, you went for the head.
So no, I didn't want to touch Heady's butt. It was I was all about that bald, glorious head.
Oh man, what a guy!
Oh, that was definitely up there in terms of top festival moments. Number 2 was probably my first Stereosonic, believe it or not. Where I picked up a ticket for like $50 and it was a 2-day ticket. Snap. Got it outrageously cheap. And so many of my favorite artists were on that lineup that I had not seen before. So the likes of Above and Beyond, Cruella, Armin was the first time I saw Armin, and even Tiesto. And it was like at probably the zenith of when sort of Tiesto and Armin were transitioning their music style as well.
Was that the first time Stereosonic was 2 days?
It was.
Yes. That was my first ever Stereosonic as well. Wow.
So hearing like Tiesto play Silence and Armin play Ping Pong during their sets, these are like the old school tracks that I had heard when I was 13 years old, and I was so and Above and Beyond play Sun and Moon, for
Oh
example.
yes,
So,
Above and Beyond.
yeah. So hearing all that kind of stuff for the first time with like a really good group of friends was a great experience. So odd one, but you know, Stereosonic lives on in my heart. And third one, probably on stage for Power Hour last year at DEFQON.
In the Netherlands.
Yeah.
I saw that. That was insane.
Crazy
You and Jero
experience.
both were there, right?
Yeah. And our mate Charles as well.
And Charles,
we're all up on stage, which was nuts. Like in front of 80,000 odd people.
During Power Hour.
During Power Hour. Like
the craziest hour of the whole
forget it.
festival. Yeah.
Never forget it. Yeah.
That's amazing, man. Oh, shit. And yeah, I guess that brings us to the end. Thank you so much for doing this, man.
No worries. Thank you
really
very much for having me.
appreciate it. Guys, Slendy Media, follow him Instagram, Facebook, YouTube for the sickest wobs, the maddest hacks, and just genuinely bloody good times.
Yep, can recommend if you enjoy Comic Sans text and strange flailing dance moves. So plenty of those on the channel.
Oh, man.
Thanks, man.
Thank you. Cheers.
Strange handshake.